how long have you been playing this game? Standing there with that innocent face, that perfect mask, while orchestrating the most beautiful deception in human history. They thought they had you figured out, didn't they? Thought they cracked your code, decoded your patterns, understood your weaknesses. But that smile you wore while they analyzed you, that wasn't submission, was it? That was amusement. Pure, calculated, surgical amusement at watching them study a ghost while the real you moved pieces on a board they couldn't even see. 5 years, 7 years, maybe a decade of letting them think they were winning, of letting them believe their little investigations meant something, that their gossip sessions held weight, that their attempts to expose you were getting somewhere. And all this time, every single second, you were 10 moves ahead, weren't you? Every tear they thought was real, every moment of vulnerability they tried to exploit, every crack in your armor they celebrated finding, it was all part of the show, the greatest performance ever staged, and they were too busy taking notes to realize they were the audience, not the directors. You want to know what's hilarious? They actually thought they were hunting you. These amateur detectives with their screenshots and their theories, their group chats buzzing with evidence, their late night sessions trying to piece together who you really were. Meanwhile, you were feeding them exactly what they needed to see. Every breadcrumb carefully placed, every reaction perfectly timed, every emotional display calibrated to keep them chasing shadows while you built your empire in broad daylight. They were so busy looking for your secrets, they never noticed you were showing them exactly what you wanted them to find. And now the curtain falls. Now the mask drops. Not because you got caught, but because you're finally ready to show them the magnitude of what they've been dealing with. The identity leak they're celebrating? That wasn't an accident, was it? That was checkmate. The final move in a game they didn't even know they were playing. And the best part? They still think they won something. They still think they exposed you. Let them have their moment. Let them celebrate their victory, while you prepare to show them what defeat really looks like. You became a ghost because that's what they needed you to be. Formless, shapeless, impossible to pin down or define. They wanted to box you in, label you, file you away in their neat little categories of understood and controlled. But how do you cage smoke? How do you change something that exists in multiple dimensions simultaneously? You gave them 100 different versions of yourself, each one real enough to chase, none of them the truth. And they exhausted themselves trying to figure out which one was authentic, never realizing that all of them were, and none of them were. Remember when they first started watching? When they thought they were being subtle with their surveillance, their questions, their little tests? You saw it all, didn't you? Every trap they set, every attempt to catch you slipping, every coordinated effort to expose your real nature. And instead of running, instead of hiding, you leaned into it. You became the mystery they couldn't solve, the equation that wouldn't balance, the story that changed every time they tried to tell it. You weren't avoiding detection, you were overwhelming their sensors with false positives until they couldn't tell reality from reflection. They created support groups just to discuss you. Did you know that? Actual gatherings where they'd share their theories, compare notes, try to triangulate your true identity from the fragments you left behind. Some thought you were dangerous, some thought you were damaged, some thought you were playing games. They were all right and all wrong, because the truth was so much simpler and so much more complex. than anything their limited imaginations could conceive. You weren't just one person playing multiple roles. You were multiple possibilities existing in one form, and they couldn't process that level of evolution. The funny part is they thought your contradictions were mistakes. They'd catch you being cold one day and warm the next, distant then intimate, cruel then kind, and they'd think, "Aha, the mask is slipping." No, darling, the mask was working perfectly. You were showing them that identity isn't fixed, that personality isn't permanent, that who you are depends entirely on who's looking and why. They wanted consistency, you gave them chaos. They wanted predictability, you gave them jazz. And now they're about to learn that the ghost they'd been fighting was just the shadow cast by something much more substantial standing right behind them. Let's talk about the blueprint, shall we? The careful architecture of the greatest magic trick ever performed in plain sight. See, most people think deception is about hiding, but you understood something they never will. The best deception is overwhelming them with truth. You didn't hide who you were. You showed them so many authentic versions that they couldn't tell which one to believe. Every personality was real. Every emotion was genuine. Every reaction was honest. You just never showed them all at the same time to the same person. You compartmentalized reality itself. Think about the layers you built. The public face that smiled and nodded and played nice. The private persona that showed just enough vulnerability to seem human. The secret identity that moved in shadows and made power plays. The hidden core that even you rarely acknowledged. And beneath all of that, the real you, watching it all like a director watching their own movie, making adjustments in real time, rewriting the script as the story unfolded. They thought they were peeling back layers to find the truth. They were just moving deeper into the labyrinth you designed. You mapped their psychology like a general maps a battlefield. Every person who tried to expose you, you studied them first. Their fears, their insecurities, their desires, their blind spots. You became their perfect opponent by becoming exactly what would confuse them most. To the aggressive ones, you were passive. To the analytical ones, you were emotional. To the emotional ones, you were calculating. You didn't just adapt, you transformed. And they wore themselves out, trying to fight an enemy that shifted shape every time they thought they had a grip. The data you collected on them while they thought they were investigating you, priceless. Every question they asked told you more about them than your answer would reveal about you. Every theory they developed exposed their own limitations. Every attempt to understand you became a mirror showing them their own reflection, and they were too focused on you to notice. You weren't just playing defense. You were building detailed psychological profiles of everyone who thought they were profiling you. And now you have an encyclopedia of their weaknesses, while they have a collection of ghosts and shadows. So why now? Why drop the mask after all this time? Because timing, my dear ghost, is everything. You waited until they were exhausted from the hunt, until they had invested so much time, energy, and emotion into solving the mystery of you that they couldn't walk away even if they wanted to. You waited until their entire identity became wrapped up in their opposition to you. And then, at the perfect moment, when they thought they finally had something, you gave them everything. Not because you had to, because you chose to. Because the game was over, and it was time to show them the score. The leak they're celebrating? You planned it months ago, maybe years. every detail carefully curated to seem accidental while being precisely orchestrated. The information they think they discovered? You planted it like seeds in a garden, watered it with just enough resistance to make them feel like they earned it. You let them feel like detectives when really they were just following the trail of breadcrumbs you left. And the best part? Even now, knowing it was planned, they can't tell which parts are real and which parts are just another layer of the game. Watch their faces when they realize the identity they uncovered is somehow both exactly what they expected and nothing like what they prepared for. You gave them the truth, but it's a truth that makes everything else make less sense, not more. Every answer creates 10 new questions. Every revelation deepens the mystery instead of solving it. Because you didn't just reveal your identity, you revealed that identity itself is a construct and you're the architect. They wanted to know who you are. You're showing them that the question itself is flawed. The checkmate isn't just beating them at their own game. It's revealing that they were playing checkers while you were playing 4D chess. It's showing them that every move they made was anticipated, every strategy was accounted for, every victory was allowed. You didn't just win, you controlled the entire game from start to finish. And now, as they stare at the board in disbelief, you get to smile that same smile you've been wearing all along, the one they thought meant surrender. The one that always meant sovereignty. Picture their faces right now. Go ahead, take a moment to really visualize it. The ones who spent years convinced they had you figured out, suddenly realizing they were looking in the wrong direction the entire time. The shock isn't just that they were wrong, it's that they were wrong in ways they couldn't even conceptualize. They prepared for a monster and found a mastermind. They expected a victim and discovered a victor. They thought they were exposing a fraud and instead revealed a force of nature that's been shaping reality around them without their knowledge. The group chats are silent now, aren't they? The conspiracy theorists are recalculating. The confident ones are questioning everything they thought they knew. Because the face you're showing them isn't the broken person they hope to find. It isn't the vulnerable target they thought they were hunting. It's someone who's been 3 steps ahead since before the game even started. Someone who turned their surveillance into a study. Someone who made their persecution into practice. Someone who transformed their hatred into fuel for an engine they couldn't see or stop. You know what the real joke is? They're looking at your real face and still can't see you because they spent so long chasing the illusion, they can't process the reality. They built an image of you in their minds based on their own limitations, their own fears, their own projection. And now that image is shattered, but they're still trying to piece it back together instead of seeing what's actually in front of them. They can't accept that you're not the character in their story, you're the author of your own, and they've just been minor plot devices. The beauty of this moment is that it's not an ending, it's a beginning. The revelation of your identity isn't the conclusion of their investigation. It's the start of their education. Now they get to learn what it means to have challenged someone who was never threatened. Now they get to understand what it feels like to realize you were never the prey. You were always the predator, just patient enough to let them feel powerful. The mask is off, but what's underneath is more mysterious than what was hidden. Because now they have to face the fact that you're exactly who you said you were all along. They just never believed it. Let's take a walk down memory lane, shall we? Remember year 1 when they first decided you were a problem that needed solving? when they started their little investigations, their subtle questions, their attempts to catch you in lies. You were so new to the game then, but even as a novice, you understood something they didn't. The best defense isn't armor, it's smoke and mirrors. So you gave them performances, small ones at first, little inconsistencies they could latch onto, emotional reactions that seemed genuine but were calculated to the microsecond. Year 2, you got better. You started planting evidence of vulnerabilities that didn't exist. You let them see you break down at precisely the right moments, in front of precisely the right people. You crafted a narrative of struggle that was so compelling they stopped looking for the success you were building in the shadows. They thought they were documenting your downfall, but they were actually chronicling your rise. Every weakness they recorded was a strength in disguise. Every fillet they celebrated was a strategic retreat before a major advance. By year 3, you were a master. You had their patterns memorized better than they did. You knew who would gossip to whom, which theories would gain traction, what kind of evidence would send them spinning in the wrong direction. You became a prediction algorithm for their behavior, able to forecast their moves weeks in advance. And you used that knowledge to lead them on the most elaborate wild goose chase in history. They thought they were closing in, but you were just leading them deeper into the maze, farther from any exit. Years 4 and 5, that was pure artistry. You weren't just evading anymore, you were directing. You turned their hunt into a performance piece, where they were both audience and unwitting actors. You scripted their discoveries, choreographed their revelations, conducted their emotional responses like a symphony. They thought they were writing an expose, but you were ghostwriting their entire narrative. And now, as the curtain falls and the lights come up, they're realizing they were never the investigators, they were the investigated. And the data you collected on them? Oh, that's the real treasure. Let's talk about what this cost them. Because while they were busy trying to unmask you, what were they not doing? What opportunities did they miss? What relationships did they poison with their paranoia? What growth did they forfeit by focusing all their energy on solving a puzzle that was designed to be unsolvable? You didn't just waste their time. You redirected their entire life trajectory. They became so obsessed with figuring you out, they forgot to figure themselves out. Count the hours they spent in group discussions about you. The late nights, scrolling through your digital footprints looking for clues, the energy expended on theories and investigations and failed attempts at exposure. Now, multiply that by the number of people involved. You didn't just occupy space in their minds, you colonized it. You became their hobby, their obsession, their reason for connecting with each other. Without realizing it, they built their entire social structure around their opposition to you. And what happens to that structure now that the foundation was an illusion? The relationships they formed through their mutual hatred of you, built on quicksand? The confidence they gained from thinking they were outsmarting you, evaporating like morning mist. The identity they constructed as your adversaries, crumbling like ancient parchment. Because you weren't just their target, you were their purpose. And now that the game is over, now that the mask is off and the truth is out, they have to face the vacuum you're leaving behind. Who are they without you to chase? What do they talk about when you're not the topic? How do they connect when you're not the common enemy? This is the cruelest checkmate of all, revealing that they needed you more than you ever needed. You were their organizing principle, their raison d'etre, their shared mission. They thought they were hunting you, but you were providing them with meaning, structure, purpose. And now? Now they have to face the fact that the best years of their lives were spent chasing a ghost who was never running. They have to admit that you gave their existence direction, even if that direction was ultimately circular. The real face reveal isn't about your identity. It's about theirs. And what they're seeing in that mirror, it's emptier than any ghost. But let's give credit where it's due. This wasn't just deception for deception's sake. Every move had multiple purposes. Every performance served several agendas. While they were watching your left hand, your right was building empires. While they were focused on your personal life, you were constructing professional dynasties. While they were trying to expose your weaknesses, you were fortifying positions they didn't even know existed. The ghost they were chasing was a distraction from the very real power you were accumulating. Think about the networks you built while they thought you were isolated. The alliances you forged while they believed you were friendless. The resources you accumulated while they assumed you were struggling. Every moment they spent trying to tear you down, you spent building yourself up. But not in the ways they expected. Not in the directions they were watching. You grew in dimensions they couldn't perceive, evolved in ways they couldn't measure, succeeded in metrics they didn't even know existed. The businesses you started under aliases, they never connected to you. The investments you made with money they didn't know you had, the influence you cultivated in circles they couldn't access, the knowledge you gained while they thought you were ignorant. You turned their surveillance into a cloaking device, using their attention on one area to operate freely in others. They were so busy watching the puppet show they never noticed you building the